the distinction that I was making was that, you know, in the conventional way of talking about things, if you say, yeah, you go back to your breathing, you know, that's the way we talk, right? But it's important to have the understanding that you're not breathing. Yeah, when you're paying attention to the breath, there's awareness and there's the breath. There's nobody there. This is called no self in the teaching. There's no self. There's nobody there. There's nobody breathing. There's nobody in your body hearing me talk right now. No. If we were to examine you, we could find nobody in there. We could open your brain and look all we want. There's nothing there but the brain. There's no self. There is no person there. There is a body breathing. There is a brain working. There are ears listening. All these things are happening, but the truth is, the evidence says that there's no one there. And this is the mistake that is the source of suffering. And it's not a matter of saying, you know, it's not a matter of saying, well, there's no one there, there's no person, there's no listening, and then somebody could say, and it would be understandable for them to say, well, what are you talking about? How am I supposed to be in the world if there's nobody there? What do you mean there's nobody there? The mind rejects such a statement, right? And the thing about it is that it's not a problem, because I'm not saying there's nobody there in the conventional way that we operate in the world. No, obviously in the conventional way that we operate in the world, there's somebody there. If there's nobody there, you have to go to the psych ward. Okay, so there's some, in the conventional understanding of things, there's a body, it's your body. There's a personality, you are the personality, you're a separate self, you're in the world of time and space, and you're operating in that reality. Yeah, sure, that's happening, and that'll continue to happen. The mistake is when you take that to be the truth. This is why they say this is an illusion, this is a delusion, this is a dream. The mistake is when you take that to be the truth. The truth is, there's an appearance of a body, yes. There is an appearance of a personality, yes. And we operate as if those things are true because we don't know any better. We've been conditioned and learned that these things were true. And because we've been conditioned and learned that these things were true, we operate as if they are. We pretend to be something that we're not. And we spend all our energy and all our waking time maintaining that pretense. Why? Because you have to spend all your energy and your waking time maintaining that pretense. Otherwise it wouldn't exist, because it doesn't exist. And the way we maintain that pretense is we think. Thinking is the process in which we continually generate the illusion that there is a person. By thinking. Why? Because when I'm thinking, it's me, I am thinking, right? Of course, what we've talked about here and what the teachings tell us and what's available for us to see if we really look, inquire into it, self-inquiry, if we inquire into it, what there is to be seen is that there's simply no evidence for this. That the voice in your head is not you. The evidence for that is clear. It's irrefutably clear. And even though it's irrefutably clear, and even though when the evidence is presented, you can't argue it, there's no way to argue it, you will continue to operate as if it's true. Because your brain has been conditioned, the programming has been conditioned that's the case, and it'll keep generating the same thought process, and it'll keep generating the same illusion. And that's not a problem either. It's only a problem if you don't know that an illusion is an illusion. You know, it's only a problem when you think a mirage is water. It's only a problem when you think that you're your body when you're not. It's only a problem that you think you're a person when you're not. So you may still be a person in the game we're playing here, You know, just like an actor may continue to play the role they're playing in the particular, and the script that they're playing in the particular movie they're in until it's over, just like you'll continue to play the script that you're in until it's over, until this particular movie ends. And then there won't be any doubt about the truth. In the meantime, it's important to allow yourself to look and see and discover, by looking and seeing from awareness, to discover that this body is a body that I can be aware of. And if it's a body I can be aware of, I must not be it. Anything that there's distance in order for me to see it, I must not be it. And so the evidence is speaking when we're meditating. You know, when you're practicing meditation, the evidence is speaking. It's speaking directly. You don't have to think it, it's speaking directly, because the experience is the experience of awareness of the body. The experience of awareness of the body is speaking. The truth is being told. When you meditate, you're practicing dying. Right, you're practicing dying because you're moving attention from the thought process to the awareness of the body. And when this is the case, there is no person. Therefore, there was a death. And the only death there will ever be is the death of the person. And since there is no such thing as a person, there can't possibly be such a thing as death. Yeah, I say that, pretty, off the cuff, but that's something to contemplate, isn't it, right? Because we've been conditioned to believe in something quite other than that. And so it's important to not just hear that, but to contemplate that. What's contemplation? Contemplation means, okay, I say that this is not the case, that you are not a person, that it's an illusion that is maintained by the thought process. Contemplation means that you take a statement like that and you be present to it. You look at it and see, is this so? Is this so? So that you can get clear without any doubt at all that this is the truth, the undeniable truth, and it is the truth that will set you free. Contemplation is being aware of a thought process about it, but you're not thinking about it. It's an awareness of a thought process about it that allows you to use the thought process about it to look and see what's so as a direct experience. So, and that's why we're having these conversations and these interactions, in order to use the process to continually refine what we're doing here, to see it more clearly, to see it more easily, to be able to recognize it in its simplicity and directly. It's important to understand something, because when I work with my clients in psychotherapy, often what I'm dealing with and what they're dealing with and what most people deal with is how they feel, right? How they feel and what they're thinking related to how they feel. And often those feelings are anxiety, stress, negative emotions, anger, frustration, annoyance, right? Despair. And so we're dealing with those things, and often when I'm working with my clients, I find myself repeating to them, to take care of your mind. Stop letting your mind make you crazy. It's not what's happening that is the source of the negative quality of life. It's not what's happening that's the source of the suffering. It's the interpretation of it. The quality of your life is a function of your mind, not the life. It's a function of your mind, not what's happening. It's a function of what your mind's doing with what's happening. And your interacting or your involvement with the mental process, with the thought process. And you're losing yourself in the thought process in terms of believing that the thoughts you're having are real, are true. I've said this many times before, but it's a major distinction to recognize that that thoughts are interpretations. They're not mirroring what's happening, they're interpreting what's happening based on your conditioning. And that will result in your being triggered as far as having feelings come up and having thoughts come up. And then when you get involved with that, when you're in the world of that, when you're being the thinker thinking the thoughts, right? When you're being the feeler feeling the feelings, right? Then that world appears real. That world appears real because you've been living a life in which you've considered it to be real for so long. It keeps showing up to be real. And so you keep getting caught up in suffering as if the state of mind you're in is reality. You keep getting caught up in suffering as if the state of mind you're in is reality. And when you see things for what they are, you take care. When you see things for what they are, you understand that if your mind is suffering, it's suffering because is a program running in your mind of conditioning, and this conditioned program that's running in your mind has you being a body and has you being a personality and has you existing in time and space and has you existing in the story of your life and has you existing in the drama of your life and has you existing in a life that's going to end up in death and has you existing in a life that's totally unstable where things are changing all the time. And life becomes about distracting yourself from being aware of that, because if you didn't distract yourself and you allowed yourself to be aware of that, it would drive you crazy. It's the truth, and when it's seen to be the truth, it's then being compared to an illusion or a delusion or a misunderstanding about the truth and about reality. And when it's seen for what it is, it explains suffering. It explains it. It makes it clear that this suffering that's occurring is an unnecessary suffering. It doesn't have to be so. What goes on in your mind in terms of your conditioning and your learned reactions to everything, and your clinging to pleasure and your attempts to avoid anything that's uncomfortable or painful, all of that playing out in your mind is a function of the programming that's been put down there, laid down there. So when you're upset, right, and you're experiencing this anxiety or depression or anger or whatever the case is, this is what's going on in your mind. And then on top of that, what we do is reject that. I don't want to feel that. I don't like that. I don't like the anxiety. I don't like the anger. I don't like what's going on in my mind. I don't like the emotional pain that's going on in my mind. What's that?
You try to avoid it.
Yes. Yeah, you try to avoid it. So you go to the doctor and get something that will tranquilize you, right? To take you offline, right? Or you stop at the liquor store, right? Or today you stop at the pot dispensary, whatever, right? So that's what people do. And here's the thing to understand about this. When we do that and you reject the experiences that are occurring in your mind, you're telling the mind that's hurting that you're telling the mind that's hurting and attempting to get your attention in order to get some relief. Yes, in order to get some relief, your mind wants you to be present to its experience so it can relieve itself of it, you see. But we turn on that too and say, no, I don't want that. I'm not going to feel that. I don't want to feel that, right? And so we reject that, and when we reject that, the energy that's occurring in the mind gets suppressed into the body and becomes physical tension. It becomes dis-ease, right? And so we now have more evidence than we ever did that the incidence of cancer is very highly related to these experiences of emotional distress and depression and so forth. And one of the things I was noticing this the other day, that cancer is so prevalent that we don't even think about it anymore in terms of any possibility of trying to control it or end it. Did you notice that? Everybody's dying of cancer all over the place, right? It's the most common form of death, right? Or I don't know if that's a fact, but it seems to me to be pretty common. Most of the people in my family died from it. I've had it. Chances of you having it are pretty high as you get older, right? And so now they're discovering, well, what is this cancer? The reason it's so hard to cure it is because it's healthy cells that start eating other healthy cells. It's energy that is convoluted in on itself. It's the cells eating the cells, you see. It's interesting because when you think of it, this is very much related to the idea that what's going on in the mind, we reject it, we turn it on itself, you see, and that's cancer. Yeah, so the thing about it is how does the awareness relate to the mind? Not how do you relate to your mind? How does the awareness relate to it? Well, the way the awareness relates to everything is unconditional love. The way the awareness relates to everything is it accepts everything naturally. Nothing can happen that awareness rejects. Awareness is all-inclusive at all times. Right, so we're acting inconsistent with our true nature when we reject what occurs in our mind. If we acted consistent with our true nature when things occur in our mind, what would we do? We would love it. We would comfort it. We would offer it the opportunity to relieve itself of the negative energy that exists there. And that allows for the healing process to happen. And so the message here is that the quality of your life is a function of what happens in your mind. So if you're paying attention to what's happening in your mind, right, then you're taking care of your mind. You don't let it go off into these wildly negative reactive places. Something happens. What do I mean by that? Something happens. And when something happens, it triggers a reaction. We have no say-so about that. That comes up. It triggers a reaction, it triggers a neural pattern, it triggers a program that runs. What does that mean? It means feelings come up. You have no say-so about what you feel, do you? You feel it first and then you notice. You don't decide to feel anything, right? So you get triggered, the feelings come up. It's all automatic, it's mechanical. Thoughts arise that are related to those feelings. Physical sensations occur that are related to both the other things. All that happens, right? You have nothing to say about that. If you understand the truth of reality, you simply be present to that system running like that, knowing that you're not something in that system, you're the awareness of that system running. And therefore, the impact or the effect of it running is nowhere near what it is or what it would be if you think it's happening to you, the you that is not actually there, that is not actually real and true. So what do? When that happens, the only thing you can do is be mindful, be present, notice it. Thoughts arising, always changing. Feelings arising, always changing. Physical sensations arising, always changing. Awareness never changing, always stable. Always allowing everything to happen as it is. No resistance. Allowing things to come up and change and move. But what we do is those triggering happens, emotions occur, thoughts occur, physical sensations occur. And then we, as the illusory thinker in our mind, say, I don't like that. I don't want that. And so the initial feeling may be fear that comes up. We have no choice about it. And then the thought that comes up along with the fear may be, something might happen. Some situations occurring that you're in, and the fear comes up like something might happen to me. Somebody looked at me a certain way, and it made me feel threatened, like I might not be valid as a person. That's enough. That happens. There's nothing you can say about that, right? But then the next thing that happens is, the next thought is, and therefore, I am not going to be around that person because they make me uncomfortable. And not only that, they're a bad person. And not only that, I'm not so sure I'm a good person. And it goes on and on and on. That's the crazy shit. That's where you're not taking care of your mind. You're letting it spin out. You're getting involved and you're letting it spin out. Now you're causing your suffering by doing that. Right? And you will find that if you learn to pay attention in such a way where you stop doing that, you don't get involved, you see things arise and pass, and you stay as the awareness and you don't get involved, right? Several things will happen. You'll have a lot more energy because you won't be wasting so much of it, and you won't be as miserable. You'll actually have periods of unpredictable happiness occur. It's a very tricky thing because, and for those of you who have been going to this class, please look at what I'm pointing at here, because it comes up again and again and again. You know, what is your name again? Evelyn. Evelyn? Yeah. What Evelyn said is when you're in the throes of a panic attack, right, or an anxiety attack, right? Already, if I accept the predicate, if I accept that statement, then we're going to have a typical psychological conversation. If you're in the throes of an anxiety attack, you've already set the stage. Who is this you that's in the throes of an anxiety attack, you see? That's why the premise, that's why the important fundamental idea to digest here is that that you think is in the throes of an anxiety attack does not exist. And if you're clear about that, then the solution occurs immediately. So therefore, anxiousness or anxiety attack or anxious thoughts or anxious feelings or muscle tension, you know, whatever it is that comes up, it will still come up. The difference that makes the difference is it's no longer happening to me. It's coming up like the weather is coming up. It's coming up like the weather's coming up. It's cloudy right now and it's rainy right now, but I don't let it really bother me because I know the weather's always changing and there'll be sun tomorrow. You're paying attention to the body breathing and the breath and the presence of the body and the body breathing. Are you thinking? You now watch the insidiousness of the way the personality will claim this process. Don't you look at it, right? You see, don't you observe it? You see how easy that slips in? You know, don't you look at it? No, you don't look at it. Awareness is aware of it. Being aware is not you doing anything, because there ain't no you when you're being aware. There's no evidence of a you when you're being aware. You see, so the practice of meditation is the practice of dying. It's the practice of experiencing the truth. It's the practice of being aware of yourself as awareness, and there's no you there. There's no person there. You are not the body. And when you're there experiencing that, there is no anxiety there. There can't be, because there's nobody to be anxious. It's really obvious and it's really simple, right? But you see, the person and the mind is programmed in a different way. It's programmed to believe that you have to do something about it, change something about it, stop thinking certain ways, control your mind, do something about it, make it better, change it, right? Control it, take some meds, have a drink, smoke a joint. Watch some porn, or watch some political people speak, even worse. Well, no, you see, the thing about it is you have to understand that the whole screen approach is at what Rupert Spira would call a concession. Because non-duality, what non-duality is a progression beyond that concession, in which you see that the actual reality of it is that the screen and what's on the screen are the same thing. There isn't any separation between the screen and what's on the screen, right? They're the same thing. This is why I emphasize the importance of your continuing to be a student of the understandings of these teachings, because that's what will help you to get to what you're trying to get to in your question, right? Because the unconditional love that we're talking about when we talk about awareness is the inability for it to not accept what it is. The inability for it not to accept what it is. Acceptance isn't even an appropriate word, because acceptance brings along with it the possibility of rejection. Well, awareness doesn't have the ability to accept or reject. It just is. And when we talk about love, we automatically conceive of love in a particular way, right? But in the same way that it's beyond our ability to conceive of the truth of who we are, it's beyond our ability to conceive of what unconditional love is actually like, because it's nothing. It's not the isness that is present is nothing, and the isness that is present has no ability to deny anything. It's like the space in this room, right? The space in this room, you could say, has unconditional love. But that doesn't necessarily translate into the understandings that we normally have about what love is, right? That the space in this room has unconditional love. It doesn't translate to the way we normally consider love to be. But nonetheless, it does have the unconditional love, meaning that it does not have the capacity to deny anything. Everything that happens in this room has no effect on the space of the room. That's the kind of unconditional love that we're talking about.
So it's total acceptance.
It's beyond acceptance, because acceptance means it could be rejected.
Oh.
Yeah, it's beyond it's beyond concept. There is no way for us to conceive of it. And so the best we can do is think of it in the terms of love the way we understand love. But it's really not like that. It's beyond a concept of love. It's like the space in this room. It is just the case that no matter what happens here, people can be murdered here, people can have sex here. You can change anything and everything in the room, and the space in the room has absolutely no effect, has no effect on it. It doesn't reject it, it doesn't like it, it doesn't dislike it, there's nothing. It just keeps being what it is. It just keeps being present. That isness is the unconditional love.
So if you're a Christian and you're thinking in terms of a loving God, this is a bit different.
Well, not really, because a loving God, if you pursue it to understanding what you mean by God and what you mean by love, you'll end up where I just spoke of. Yeah. But if that's beyond what you can understand, right? And that's the purpose of all the beliefs that religions present to people. You know, they present those things to people. Well, I mean, there's a hidden motive too for control, but they present those things to people because that's the best that people can do. They need to conceive of things in terms of something they can understand. But it is possible to conceive of unconditional love as something that you can understand. You can get close to it by looking at it the way I was describing about the space in the room, but it's really beyond anything conceptual. However, it's beyond anything conceptual. However, it's you.
Yeah, we have to talk about everything from our limited experiences.
That's right.
That's all we have.
That's right. You know, so we're trying our best to tell the best lies. You know, because the best lies we can tell might be pointing more accurately to that which we can't speak of. Yeah, but nonetheless, it's possible to experience it. Why? Because it's who you are. And when you're practicing meditation and you're sitting there being aware of the body and the breath, you're actually being yourself. You know, we say when you practice meditation, be aware of the body, right? We don't say be the awareness of the body. Well, you really don't have to do that, because when you're being aware of the body, there's no other possibility than for you to be the awareness. So we don't even say that because we don't want to add more stuff for people to think about, you know. Just be aware of the body. Now, the distinction that I spoke of earlier in terms of being clear that the body does not breathe, It's like when you do walking meditation. You should really, we all walk all the time, don't we? Right? So when you're walking, take the opportunity to pay attention and notice how much of the time you're walking that you're aware of the body walking while you're walking. Aware of walking while you're walking. You will notice if you pay attention that almost never are you aware of the body walking when the body's walking. You're thinking while the body's walking. If you become aware the body's walking, you feel the feet touching the ground. You feel the joints in your body moving. You feel the body. Awareness is making contact with the physical body. The body is becoming embodied awareness instead of just the body. That's reconnecting to the source. Yeah, so practicing walking when you're walking, practicing meditating when you're walking can be a very powerful experience. To just notice, am I aware of walking when when walking? Am I aware of breathing when there's breathing? Am I aware of the body when I'm being aware of the body? And when you're aware of walking when you're walking, the body's walking. You are not walking. There is no you walking. It's the body walking. The body knows how to walk. This distinction has to be taken into the bone. You have to take this distinction into your bones. And it doesn't mean that you will not be a person, and it doesn't mean that you won't operate as if you have a body. No, it doesn't mean any of that. But you will be informed in such a way where the transcendent wisdom that comes through meditation and through the being a student of the teachings, right, that becomes the ground of being, right? And so the fact that you operate as an actor, as a person, the fact that you operate as if you are a body is not a problem anymore because you know the truth. That's all. You just see it for what it is. It's no longer the end of the story. It's just a temporary situation that you're participating in. That's your life. Your life is a temporary situation, very temporary situation that you're participating in. So, that's right.
The time is an illusion.
Okay, have a good evening.